Hi, this is Chandler Holloway for Casio, and if you've been keeping up with the release of our latest CTX series of keyboards, then you know we've managed to squeeze a surprising amount of functionality into some very affordable instruments. The main selling point is the high quality of tones made possible by our new AIX sound source, but the CTX series also comes with a newly revamped Arpeggiator section. Today I'm going to show you some advanced tips and tricks that'll help you make the most out of this exciting feature. You can access the Arpeggiator through the functions list, where it has its own submenu. The auto harmonizer and Arpeggiator share the same toggle button, so first you have to make sure to change the button assignment, otherwise it'll default to auto harmony on startup. Once you've picked out an Arpeggiator type you like from the list, press the toggle button and the Arpeggiator icon will light up to show that it's enabled. There are two main types of Arpeggiator patterns to choose from: harmonic patterns and melodic patterns. Harmonic patterns are probably what you're used to if you've ever owned a synth with Arpeggiator features before. They read whatever chord or interval is played on the keyboard and then generate a sequence of notes based on that input. Some harmonic patterns also offer modulating effects beyond just creating harmonic motion. For example, the filter pattern will apply a light filter sweep to the sound while subdividing it to match the current tempo. Melodic patterns are a bit different in that they only respond to one note at a time, and they generate a melodic sequence based on that note. However, if a melodic pattern is already playing, you can press a key to the right of the note that started the sequence, and it'll affect playback velocity. You can use this to get some extra control over dynamics in a performance setting. Now that we know the ground rules, let's get a little bit more advanced. Notice that the CTX 3000 has 8 user registration buttons on the front panel. You can use these to save and instantly recall all the settings on the keyboard with the press of a single button. This is nothing new if you've ever owned a Casio keyboard before, but what you may not know is that you can use these registration buttons to instantly switch between Arpeggiator patterns without interrupting playback. This greatly improves the versatility of the Arpeggiator and allows you to string together some really complex sequences in a very easy and intuitive way. First, pick out the tone and effects you want to build your sequence around. I'm in a bit of a cyberpunk mood today, so I chose a nice synth bass with a light flanger and some tempo sync delay. Now choose the ARP pattern you want to start off your sequence with. This is a good time to mention that the Arpeggiator toggle button can be long pressed to take you directly to the ARP type submenu for quick access. Normally you'd want a monophonic bass line, so I'll go ahead and pick a melodic sequence like sequencer line 3. Once you're happy with this tone and pattern, make sure the Arpeggiator is enabled and save these settings by holding down Store and pressing one of the registration buttons. You should see a message appear indicating that it's been saved in the proper location. Without changing any other settings, select the next pattern you need for your sequence and save it to a different registration. Repeat this process until you have all the patterns you need saved on different buttons for quick switching. I'm only going to be using 3 patterns today for the sake of demonstration, but when you switch back to the first registration you saved and start playback, you should be able to switch between patterns seamlessly by using the buttons. However, what if you've got a really complex sequence in mind and you think you'll need more than just 8 different patterns to perform it all? Well, pressing the bank button a single time will automatically advance to the next set of 8 in line. So for example, if I want to switch from bank 1 reg 8 to bank 2 reg 1, all it takes is one extra button press. This is especially helpful if you're trying this on the CTX 700 or 800, which only have 4 registration buttons to work with. Exclusive to the CTX 3000 and 5000 are the 4 phrase pads on the front panel. These pads can be used to trigger pre-recorded loops of music that sync to the internal tempo and repeat indefinitely until you decide to turn them off. This is helpful if you just want to lay down a quick riff and doodle on top of it before you decide to actually record something more concrete into the CTX 3000 17-track MIDI sequencer. Because you can trigger all 4 phrases to play back at the same time, if you record one arpeggio sequence into one phrase pad and another arpeggio sequence into a different phrase pad, you can use the phrase pads together to layer the arpeggios on top of each other. This isn't usually possible because under normal circumstances, the arpeggiator can only be applied to one voice at a time. To begin, you'll have to clear out a set of phrases to free them up for recording. With the tone and arp pattern you want to loop already selected, navigate to the phrase pad submenu in the functions list and select the phrase set you want to erase. Long press the record stop button and you should see a copy message pop up. Scroll right using the number pad to bring up clear and then hit enter and yes to confirm deletion. Once it says complete, tap function again and you'll be back in the phrase set list with an empty set of 4 pads to work with. Press record stop and the record icon will start to flash, indicating that you're in phrase record standby mode. Here, you can adjust certain settings before you start recording, like the length of the phrase in measures and whether or not you want a metronome pre-count. I only want one measure of an arpeggio loop, so I'll leave these settings alone for now. As long as you're in record standby mode, pressing any key will automatically begin playback, so you don't have to worry about enabling synchro start to come in on beat. Simply input the chord and release it after one measure. Now I have a 1 measure loop of the up-up-down pattern on this D minor 7 chord saved on pad 1. For the second layer on pad 2, I'm going to go back to the arp type submenu and switch to the opposite pattern, down, down, up. Then I'll repeat all the same steps till I get back to record standby, but this time I'll press pad 2 and the P2 icon will light up to indicate that phrase 2 is set to be recorded. Again, I'm going to record a 1 measure loop based on the same D minor 7 chord, but this time with the mirror image pattern. Now I can use the 2 phrase pads to layer both arpeggios on top of each other. Because I use the same exact chord for both layers, just on the opposite pattern, the result is a really cool harmonic effect as the same notes are intermittently doubled and intervallically inverted as they move up and down the staff. You'll find that there are many of these up-down contrapuntal arpeggio pairs to choose from if you want to experiment with this technique on your own. At any point during phrase playback, you can disable specific phrases by holding down stop and pressing the corresponding phrase pad button. Pressing the same button again will cue up the phrase to come back in on beat. Also note that you can use the mixer section to individually tweak the sound of each of the 4 phrases during a performance. Long pressing the part button to the left of the number pad will take you to the mixer menu, where parts 6, 7, 8, and 9 correspond to phrases 1, 2, 3, and 4 respectively. If you scroll down from here, you can individually adjust the balance, panning, and effect sends for each of the 4 phrases. Using the selection wheel in conjunction with the volume parameter will allow you to gradually fade in a certain phrase for more precise control. For even more flexibility, scrolling right while in the phrase set list will bring up the individual settings menus for each of the 4 phrase pads. If you set chord sync to on and then enable the accompaniment features, you can control any combination of the 4 phrases in real time simply by inputting chords on your left hand. That wraps things up for now, but if you've got any questions about what I've talked about today, or you have any requests for more tutorials, feel free to leave a comment below. Again, this has been Chandler Holloway for Casio. Thanks for watching.